wonderful people of mine. Welcome back to another video. Welcome. This is ARTabulous Creations. My name is Andrea, and today we're making a dragon wreath. Yay! So this is for a friend of mine. So this has a little bit of extra love and care into it. As you can see, some of this is already done, and I will get into the ins and outs of that. But check this out, y'all. Check it out. How cool is that? Look at those eyes. Look at those eyeballs. So this is a red dragon. It's a kid's costume from Amazon. These things will attach later. We'll get into that later. So I just wanted to show you, though, when ordering these, the color is not always as it seems on the website. So be careful when you're purchasing. If you're doing a particular color palette, you want to be really precise on what you're ordering. Just learn from my mistakes, if you will. And then our lovely tail. This is so cool. Now, this particular wreath has to be a certain size because it's going on a door, which is why we're doing this style. And as you can see, I already have my board preloaded with all the zip ties. I know it looks like a hot mess, but I'm going to take a blank board and show you. Okay, so what I have, this is a Unique in the Creek UITC oval board. This particular dragon is going to take 60 total cuts of mesh. I'll get into that in a second. But because I know I'm putting flames in the inner part of this when it's all said and done, I chose to load my my zip ties more towards the outside. So instead of having them come in this way, I have them more going that way. That being said, I also pre-drilled a hole here and here between these two holes and these two holes for the wings. The reason they're there is so when this hangs on the door, the wingspan will not go beyond a certain measurement and will fit on my girlfriend's door. She's gonna be so excited about this. Carrie, if you're watching this, hit me up in the comments below with a Yahoo! So it's gotta be a particular size for her door. So we're gonna put the wings here. The tail is gonna be a to be determined after all the mesh is on. So once I get to that point, I will show you guys what I did with it when I turn it over, and I can show you where I put the tail and whatnot and how to get that into its shape. So that being said, as you can see, I already have mesh cut. I've left one piece of each to do with you guys so you can see how I do this. And then we'll attach everything, and I'm gonna, honestly, I've only made a couple of these dragons, but I've been wreath making for a couple of years now. I'm going to throw this out there. If I offend anyone, I apologize. But mesh matters. So let me explain to you why as I'm folding this, because hopefully you can see from your angle why this is. So I am purposefully starting with this black mesh. This is deluxe wide foil mesh. It's thicker, it's sturdier, and with the wider metallic stripe in the center makes it a little bit easier to handle. So when doing these dragon scale-like patterns with your mesh, the excuse me, the mesh matters. How you fold this is going to play a factor into the composition when it's all said and done. That being said, okay, mesh, curl side up, cut 10 1/4 by 10 1/4, factory edge top left, factory edge bottom right, cut edge top right, cut edge bottom left. I hope this is helpful, it may not be, but if you're doing this at home, you'll understand when you get it in front of you. I'm going to turn it into, here's your square, you're going to turn it into a diamond shape, bring the top corner down to the bottom corner, and try to line up these outer edges. Let me show you 1 second. Excuse me. Try to line up these outer edges as best as possible, because that, when I get done with this, I'll show you why that's going to matter. Smush, 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 smush. Now, I'm going to put my hand on the center here, and this is why I have the mat out. I'm making the scale, so I want to squeeze the right side and pull together and make my tip of the scale. I am going to hold this down with my pointer finger and kind of grab and guide the deco mesh down the line. It's going to be a little off center. You're going to have a smidge of a slant. But what I've done is lined this piece, this corner piece, with this bottom edge so that it's one line. And you can kind of see where this patterning is going to come to effect into the pieces. Okay, now I'm going to hold with this hand and do exactly the same thing on this side, but I'm going to squeeze a little tighter here at the top and make that point, hold my pointer finger, still holding down here, guiding this side down. I'm taking my thumb, and now I'm going to hold the piece underneath with my thumb as I pull the mesh down and let go. Okay? So you kind of got this, well, let's get a better point there. Sometimes goes a little easier when you're not trying to explain it. You know what I mean, y'all? It's all good. Okay, so I am holding this part we've already folded with my thumb, and I am bringing this one down to again match that line. So you have this triangular fishtail shape, if you will. Now, for OCD / consistency on my scale, on the way I do my process, I turn it sideways and I measure 2 inches for my tail. So I'm holding all the things together in the middle. I'm going to push from one side, push from the other, squeeze, bunch, grab a rubber band, and almost get it on there good. Voila, right? Now, excuse me, I've done a couple of these now, so I know you don't have to do this. This is totally preference. I'm going to cut a little bit of this bulk of this tail off because I know when I get to the end parts of assembling this, it's going to be a problem getting everything in. So I just cut the tail off just a little. Can you guys see that? And then I fluff a little. So I'm going to pull my tip up a little, make it nice and tight, and then fluff it out a little. And voila. Voila. You have a cool dragon scale. Now, that's going to be my center portion of this dragon. The outside layers are the same color. Now, I've done some where the inner layer was a different color from the outer layer. I'll have another video for that one. In this case, this mesh is metallic burgundy mesh. I got it from Craft Outlet. It is not as stiff as this mesh. So, and I've never used it to make these dragons, so this was quite the learning curve. Again, mesh matters. So if you're gonna be making this, make sure you're getting good quality mesh. I would recommend either the deluxe wide foil, and I know it's a little more expensive, but it's so pretty, or horizontal wide stripe. They tend to have the most sturdiness of structure and hold the shape the best. Now, We will get this to work, and I'm going to show you, but that would be my recommendation if you're going to make any kind of dragon wreath. Use deluxe wide file or horizontal wide stripe. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, that being said, again, 10 1/4 by 10 1/4 square. Gonna curl side up, turn into a diamond shape again. Factory edge top left, factory edge bottom right. That'll automatically line up your cut edges, okay? Again, corner to tip, top to bottom. That's a better way to put it. And like I said, these are, this mesh is a little flimsier, so it makes it a little harder to work with. So I'll show you what I learned in folding all these previous ones from this mesh. So have yourself cell phone, something heavy but small to help you guide your mesh here. So you really want to push here, really want to push here. Again, top to bottom, you now have this wing shape. Squish, 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 right? Move your device, whatever it is you're using to add weight, off to the right a little bit so that you can kind of see your center line here. And you want to hold a little off center, pinch the left side, and you're going to hold and pinch and turn and carry it over to the right side. Okay, and line up your corners. So you want to line up the corners here. Can you guys? So here's the corner. You want to line up the corners, right? Now what I've learned to do while doing this, kind of tuck it in while I'm holding it here. I can pull here because again, this mesh isn't as sturdy as the other, so it kind of gets a little loose. Pull the phone or your whatever you're using device out and smush, smush, smush. And then you're going to turn it so that you have this Star Trek shape. You see that? So you smush, 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 and you've now gone left to right, and you have this Star Trek shape. So you're going to turn it so that your one arrow is facing to the right and your two arrows are facing to the left. Does that make sense? Can you guys see? Yep, there you go. Okay, two to the left, one to the right. Okay, so now you're basically going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm taking what was, so we gone where we pulled left to right. We're going to turn it this way. Now we're going to take bottom, which was your right, to top, and same thing. Line up your tails, okay? And then again, smoosh, 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 all the way up to the top. Smoosh, smoosh, smoosh. For these scales, I also like 2 inches. So we're going to do, and then, oh, I'm not smushed it. Here we go. Ready? Okay. Smoosh. So I'm going to do the same thing we did with the bottom of those. We're going to start from the bottom. Wait, am I at 2? Yep. Smush, smush, grab, pinch. Sometimes you may or may not get a little bit that wants to slide out. Just tuck that sucker back in there and hold tight. And then I'll grab by the bottom, wrap the band, done. Now eventually these rubber bands will disintegrate, but what this does for me is gives me a location as to where I'm going to attach that to the board. I'll explain that in a second. Cut a little bit of the bulk tail off, and voila. Now, because this mesh is not as thick or sturdy as the other mesh, I come back in and do a little more smushing because it just kind of needs it. It's a little, you kind of got to force it to take the shape, if you know what I mean. All right, and then voila. You have another one. Now I'm going to do one more with you guys. Same thing, 10 1/4 by 10 1/4 because I measured it, cut square, turn triangular or diamond shape. So factory edge is top left, factory edges, bottom right, top to bottom. And you can kind of see when you fold this over where your mesh is going to line up on the edges here. So if you need to go a little over, that's fine. If you need to go a little shorter, that's fine too. But this is where cutting it in a square makes all the difference, because it does matter in the shape. Okay, top to bottom, smoosh, smoosh, smoosh. Grab your weighted device, this case my cell phone. Again, a little more smushing. You really got to shape this thing. Only with this metallic mesh. It's not as hard with the other, with the wide stripe or with the deluxe foil. I'm just telling you that right off the bat. This, you got to work. You got to make it do what you want it to do. The other stuff, not so much. Move your device a little to the right so you can see where your tip is and where the center is a little bit. Again, I got to hold this because this mesh is not thick, and I am squeezing to keep its shape as I fold over to make the edges meet. Here. You guys see? Here. Okay? So I've folded left to right. And if you're right-handed, left-handed, once you do this, you'll get what works for your dexterity. It just happens to work for me this way. This is how I roll. But you can make it work for you whichever hand is most dominant. I'm going to hold here and pull a little to kind of keep that there, right? And then we're going to pull the phone out or your weighted device and smush. Smush, smush, smush. So now you have this triangular shape, kind of Star Trek-ish. I'm going to turn it to the right. So you have one arrow facing right, two arrows facing left. All right? Smush, smush, smush. And then you're going to hold kind of here at the tip a little. Grab the two, you now have two tips. And then again, fold over to make your tips meet again. And you want to hold, let's see. You want to hold this part. Let's see where I have to look where my hand is to show you guys what's happening here. You want to kind of hold this part down because it's going to be what gets the scale shape. So pinch and squeeze, hold, and kind of, you can move your fingers as you bring it over. Line up your tips, smush, and then you're just going to pinch the two pieces all the way along the other side till you have everything is, you want to keep the line straight, okay? You want to keep the line straight, okay? Then come down here. Again, I'm only doing this to measure my 2-inch tail. Squeeze, squeeze, pinch. Get a rubber band, or you can zip tie these, you can chip clip, you can clothespin. There's lots of ways to do it. This is just my preferred method. Squeezing while I was rotating, cut the tail off. And so see how it kind of, there's a lot of space there. It's not necessarily, there's a lot in here, and this is a little excess. So I want to kind of form it a little more and smush, smush, smush. And I'm going to stick my middle finger in a little and hold tight here and pull out and back to kind of give it a little more of a tip. Again, this mesh isn't as sturdy as the others, but it's still pretty and it's going to be fabulous. And I don't think it's going to be an issue when I get it onto here. But we're going to find out together because I've not made a dragon wreath with this mesh. So we're going to do this together. All right. I will be right back and show you how we're going to assemble this. Yay! See you in a few. Okay, are you guys ready to assemble? Yay, let's do this. All right. So I typically prefer the larger scales going down and then up. That's my personal preference. You can do it the other way if you want to go up on this side and down on this side, whatever works for you, but that's just my personal preference. So I'm going to start at what I know is the top of the board, and then I'm adding lights to this wreath. So there's going to be a particular way that I attach these scales so that I know the wreath lights up when this is all said and done. So I'm going to attach in that manner of knowing that ahead of time. If you're doing this at home and you don't either A, don't have lights, or B, do have lights and don't care how they go on, do this at your own preference. But okay, so here's what we're doing. We're taking our red scales first because they're going to be our inside and outside row. I would prefer, so if you can see, there, when you hold the scale this way, this side has 2 slots, this one has 1. I prefer the 1, so I'm going to make sure that all of my scales, the 2-sided one, goes on the inside so it's less visible. I hope that makes sense. So here's my 2 scales. This is how we folded it. I'm going to flip it over. Oh, here you go. Little side note. Get these little stragglers right away because they will become a problem later. Okay? I am going to stick this scale right in the middle of these 2 inner holes, right in the middle, right in there. I am lining up that rubber band where I tied it off right in the middle. Okay? We're going to pull tight. Okay? I'm going to just let that sit for a minute because we're going to come back and do the rest and make it all sit nice later. But for now, that's going to stay right there. Now I'm going to skip a hole. Can you guys see that? Maybe you can see that. So you got 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip this one and come to this one. Okay? So now again, same thing. I'm going to do a little extra smooshing. Right? Little pull. Tuck that 2-sided part on the back side. Line the zip tie up with where I rubber banded it. Okay? And pull tight. Okay? Done. Come in with my zip tie gun. Cut those off. I love this thing. I so love this thing. So if you guys don't have one of these in your wreath maker that works with zip ties, a must-have tool in your arsenal. I am not joking. You need this thing if you're working with zip ties. Okay, so you can see I have 1 hole here, and we did the outside edge here. I'm going to put the black one in here, but I want to show you how this lines up. So when I go to add my lights, this black one, I want this one actually up a little, and this may alter a smidge when I get everything on, depending upon how the lights fall in and out, because this is a different kind of mesh. So when I go to get this black piece on here, I'm going to stick it right in there. But when I attach my lights, I'm going to have it somewhere around in here. So I put my wreath together. Instead of doing all the inside first, then all the outside first, then do all the middle, I attach this process because I know I'm lighting it and I want the light to shine through the mesh. So this is why it may take a little longer, but this makes it a much better process when it's all said and done and together in a lighted way. It's really cool. So now we're going to take the black. This will be the middle scale. Check it, fluff it, and same thing. I'm going to line this one up right I'm going to line the rubber band up right in the middle of these two holes. So every petal, we'll call it every petal, lines up with a zip tie where the rubber band was banded off. So I'm going to put that in there. Oh, and I always, when this petal is done, so you've got a two-sided petal, right? You have an open, what I'll call the scale side. This is the side I'm going to use. But the other side has the, where we bent it. You could use that too and flip it the other way. I just, again, personal preference, I prefer the solid color versus having the folded line in mine. That's just a personal preference, but you can do this any way you want. So I'm making sure it's nice and solid, cutting off any strays. It's gonna be one of those stray kind of days, y'all. And then stick it in the zip where I've already got it started. Stick it in, line it, the rubber band up with the center of the hole and pull. I use needle nose pliers. It saves my fingers a little bit of harshness. Pull tight. Again, zip tie gun. Cuts it right off and tightens it at the same time. So you have 3 pieces permanently attached. And I'm not sure from that angle you'll be able to see or not, but you can see how the zip tie is lined up with where we banded everything off. And like I said, I cut things a little shorter just to not have the bulk under the next row, okay? All right, y'all. I'm gonna finish attaching all of these and I will be right back. we're back and we've got all the mesh on. So you can see from the back side, look how nice that looks. Nice and neat. Because this is going into a fitted space, when I'm all said and done, it's not going to be, when I attach the wings and tails, it's not going to look as pretty as it does right now. So I want to take this opportunity to show you while I still can. So look at how pretty. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that fabulous? Voila, it's so pretty. So this is what I was talking about with the down and up motion of the scales. Again, you could do it either way. It's totally your preference. This is just what I'm doing for this particular one. So I need to attach all of the other components, the wings, the tails, the head, the flames, all the things. But before I do that, I want to put the lights on before I get anything else on there, and this becomes harder to move and less mobile. So that being said, I'm going to attach the lights and I will bring you back as soon as I'm done with that, and we'll attach the head. See you in a few. Y'all, we're back and we've got the head on. So let me show you a little something. You may or may not be able to see this with the lights on, but we're going to give it a try and see what happens. No, can't see it. All right, you'll have to get that in a later view. But that being said, turning off. Okay, so this was more difficult than I had expected it to be. But if you're going to do these on your own, all that I did was, I'll show you when I flip this over. I slit eyeballs, slit in the foam of the eyeball, stuck the eyeball in, glued it in, hence the eyeballs. And then they look really cool when they light up. And then the flames are glued inside the nose on a piece of canvas board. Oh, look, we're still lit. There we go. So you can see the canvas board and you can see where the lights are, and nobody's going to see the backside. So forgive me if it's a little messy, but this is what we're dealing with. That being, there you have it, right? Okay, so I took 2 pipe cleaners and wrapped it around the edge of the mask holders, put one through this loop and brought the other one out. Same thing on this side, tied it, tucked it in, and added a hanging hole, or a hanging hole, a hanging wire. So now we're gonna attach the wings. Are you ready? Are you set? Let's do this. So before I do that, let me show you actually. So I have pre-drilled, you'll see up here, there's another hole up here. I was a little off on my markings in order to get the wings to fit and not touch. So if I put them up here, they're too close together. So we went down one and we're going to attach there. So I pre-drilled the hole before I started doing any of the deco meshing. So now we're going to attach. So what I've done is cut the bottom half of the wing off and cut a little bit of a ledge, and I intend to make the 2 same points match at the top. So when it's all said and done, even though it could go this way or it could go that way, I want these 2 pieces facing each other. So what we're going to do is this. So this came as one piece. I cut it in half down the middle, and then I cut off the bottom part, and this was a hole that was already preset in the costume for the child to be able to wear it. I just took it out and I'm using the hole. So I'm lining that hole up with this hole. A whole lot of holes going on here. We're going to stick 1 pipe cleaner that way, not pipe cleaner, zip tie, and I'm using heavy duty zip ties for this to make sure these wings aren't going to go anywhere. So there's probably a much easier way. There's actually a much easier way to do this. So we're going to do it the easy way. We're going to feed the pipe cleaner. Again, not pipe cleaner. Zip tie. Yep, that's the word, y'all. Zip tie. Zip tie. Heavy duty zip tie. There. And then this one here. It's a little difficult when you can't see what you're doing. Alright. Bear with me, all. Bear with me. Where is that? Let me get in there. Come on. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Got it. Again, you can't see what you're doing, so it takes a little finagling to get things where you want them to be. Okay, there we go. See? 2 zip ties. One's going to tighten that way, one's going to tighten that way. We're just going to feed them through the whole pre-made hole. Nice and tight. And you can you let me get it tightened and then I'll show you a little bit what I'm talking about. Give me 2, maybe 3 seconds. Make sure you pull this nice and tight, you guys, because you don't want these wings falling off. Nice and tight. Okay. Okay. Now I'll show you. So, I cut, this wing went all the way down to here. I cut the foam of it so that it would fit on the wreath frame better. You can use yours according to how you're doing your design. That's just how I did it. So now we're going to do the other side. And hopefully have a little bit easier of a time. Hopefully. Alright, that one went in pretty nicely. Nope. There we go. Highly recommend not having too much coffee when you do this part. Shaky, shaky. Okay. There we go. And again, I want to keep the patterning the same, so I'm just flipping it over. Did exactly the same thing on this side. We're going to feed it through the pre-drilled hole that's already there, because somebody somewhere knew we needed that there. And go pull nice and tight. And I'm going to position them a little bit so that it looks like, oh, let me, nice and tight. Tight. Okay. Wings are on. Da 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 da. La 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 la. So I can see from where I'm standing where the wing tips are going to hit the head, kind of, sort of. So I'm just going to maneuver them just a little bit. There we go. All right. And din 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 din. Ta-da! Flying away. And when I bring you in for the close-up, I will show you more detail of how it lines up with the head when it's hanging on the door. Now, we have to get ready for the tail. So I will be right back. And we're back. Look at this beauty. What do you think we should call her? Blaze? Crimson Fury? Hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Check it out. Isn't she pretty? Oh, la 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 la. Don't mind the the chain there. That's just to kind of get the tail to stay where I wanted it to. If you guys can see, not so much. I had to take the hair dryer to it to get it to form to its proper shape, but still. Oh my God, isn't she awesome? Now, the fun part. We're gonna light it up. Turn the lights off and turn it on. We'll be right back. Check her out. How cool is that? Look at the eyes. Look at those eyes. The only thing that would make this even cooler if it had like a fog machine going to it. Now I will say, on the sides it's a little harder to see the lights because it is black mesh and it's like tripled over. But pretty stinking cool, don't you think? I really like the red, but wait, let's do the flash. Check it out. How cool is that? That's your flash. You got some strobe. Din, 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 din. I forget what the other functions are. Okay, come on, there we go. Blinky, twinkly, sleepy, dopey, 7 dwarfs. Anyway, all right, I don't want to make you guys sick, so let's go back to the red. How cool is she? Isn't she fabulous? Oh, she's gonna look awesome on the door. So, lights going on. Ta-da! Isn't she fabulous? Look, you can even see when the light's on. The eyes are red. She's staring right at you. Ha ha ha. All right, my lovey-doveys. As usual, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell so you don't miss when I post a video. All right, my friends. Love you so very much. Thank you so much for being here. And until the next time, love ya. Bye.